Greetings, everyone. This is Rob Sanders with Simplilearn. Thank you for joining, and today we're going to cover search engine optimization, interview questions and answers. So thanks for joining again, and here's how it's going to work. So if you have any questions to these questions or answers, feel free to just comment right below this video and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We're going to go through a series of questions and I'm going to answer those questions for you. Okay, so the first question that you might be asking in an interview is differentiate between do follows and no follows. Okay, so if you've taken or listened to my SEO courses on YouTube for SEO, we talked a lot about do follows and no follows. And simply put, do follows are just signals to the search engines to follow the link. So there's a link on site A pointing to site B. We're going to basically tell Google, Bing, and some of these other search engines, hey, go ahead and follow that link. Now, a no-follow is just the opposite. So no-follow link doesn't allow the search engine crawlers to follow it. So if we have a link on our site, site A, pointing to site B, we could put a no-follow tag in there. And what that's going to do, it's going to signal to the crawlers, hey, don't follow this link. So in the end, if the crawlers don't follow the link, then there's not going to be any link juice passed. And so Google is not going to give you credit or give that site credit for having a link pointing to it or pointing to another site or from another site. And so it's all about linking. So we can control if there's links on our site, whether we want the crawlers to recognize those or not, simply with no follow tags. So just a reminder, link juice is the reputation or equity passed from one website to another. So if you have a link on another website and that website is of high quality, meaning their page authority, their domain authority is high, they have a lot of content, they're not spammy, they're really rich and they're relevant, then you may want to make sure that the link pointing from that site to your site is a no follow. So that way that Google can recognize the link from that site to your site. And basically that reputation is going to be passed on to you. Okay, so that's a do follow versus a no follow. And why would we do a no follow? Well, it depends. It really depends. A lot of social media platforms like Facebook have no follows. If you have a lot of content, you may not want to be pushing out a lot of do follows. It could actually look bad from an external linking standpoint. And so a lot of sites are really particular about who they want to pass link juice onto and give credit for the link. So it's a business decision at the end of the day. There's really no hard, fast rule here, except from an SEO perspective, if I have a site and I have a lot of external links pointing outward to other sites, I'm going to be particular about who I allow the search engine to follow and what links I allow not to follow. Okay, so here's an example of what they look like. So do follow is simply just the href. Notice the no follow has the tag appended to it, the href tag with a no follow. So if the search engine's crawling your site and they see that no follow there, they're not going to follow that link, and vice versa. If there's a link on another site pointing to yours and there's a no follow there, you're not going to get credit. The search engines aren't going to pick up that link. Okay, so question 2, what is 301 redirect and how is it different from a 302 redirect? So 301 redirects tell users in the search engine specifically that an original page has been moved, and this is the key word here, permanently. So permanently moved. We're going to explain that in a minute. So it's just moved from one page to another. And so if we don't have a page anymore, but we have a new page, let's just say you built a new website with new URLs, you want to make sure the old page is pointing to the new page with a 301 redirect. So if a 301 redirect is permanent, then a 302 is temporary. So we want the search engines to recognize that we have 301 permanent redirects in place. Why? Because if we have temporary, then it might alert Google to not keep that page in its search engine rankings because it's temporary. So why would Google want to keep a temporary page or even a page that is pointing to another page on a temporary basis? So they may remove both pages from its index. Okay, but if we have something permanent in place, Google may say, okay, this page is permanently linking to another page or redirecting to another page. Therefore, it's stable, it's permanent. We're going to keep that new page in the index and eventually remove the old page. So really, something permanent is more stable in the eyes of the search engine. Something temporary may not be as stable in the eyes of, say, Google. And if they don't see it as stable, then they may remove both pages from the index. Okay, so the idea is we want to be found in Google Search Index, and we get it. Sometimes pages go away for a variety of reasons. And if it does go away, just make sure you have a new page for it. And that new page is a 301 permanent redirect. Okay, so question 3. Why are backlinks important in SEO? Well, we kind of hinted on that a bit with the nofollow. Because if we have a link from another website pointing to ours, and that link from that other website is really relevant, and it has a high page and domain authority, then it's going to benefit us. And so backlinks are important because if we have backlinks from high quality sites, it's going to improve the credibility of our site, especially if it's a do follow tag. So the search engines are going to recognize the relationship between the site that has a link pointing to us. Okay, so it's just going to build our credibility. It's going to increase our domain authority. And then the net effect of that is if we're credible and we have high domain authority, then that's going to increase the rankings of our pages. And when the pages increase in ranking, then we're going to get more of a lion's share of the traffic for certain keywords that our pages are found for. And if our pages are found and getting traffic, then because we have increased rankings, we're likely going to have increased traffic. And then it's just a snowball effect. So more traffic leads to more engagement and conversions. So the whole idea for SEO is, remember, you have an on-page strategy and an off-page strategy. Building external links is part of an off-page SEO strategy, and we want to make sure that we are relevant in the form of a link or in the form of content on other high-quality sites. Being on a high-quality site only benefits us because, again, it increases our domain authority. Google sees us as more relevant. Therefore, our pages are going to benefit by ranking higher, and therefore, when we rank higher, we get more traffic. So it's a snowball effect. So having backlinks is important because it snowballs all the way through to conversions. Okay, so what are the best practices to rank your videos on YouTube? This is a great question, really great question. Given the importance of videos, especially with SEO, because videos are found. YouTube in itself is a search engine. So if we have a video, how are we going to get it to rank on YouTube? Well, first things first, you never want to put a video out there and want it to rank if it's not engaging or informative. So make sure you go ahead and follow the best practices of having engaging and informative content in your video. Now, once you have that video in place, you want to optimize it. And then some of the key factors for optimizing the video are you want to choose a title that has high search volume and low difficulty. Just as you would keyword, for example, for a web page, you want to choose a title with a keyword in it that has high volume and low difficulty, i.e. low competition. Okay, so you want a nice ratio there. And you want to choose a title that's going to get people to watch the video too. So it's not all about just choosing a title just for the sake of high volume. You also have to choose something that's relevant, that's going to be catchy as well. And then with that title goes the description. So you want a description that's very relevant to your title, okay? Because most people aren't going to click on a video just for the sake of the title. They're going to want to probably get a sneak peek via the description of what it is. So again, you want to optimize that description, but make sure the description is just as snazzy as the title. Okay, you also want to use accurate and relevant video tags, just as you would on Twitter or Facebook. Tag these videos. Okay, so make sure your title tag length doesn't exceed 100 characters because it will get chopped off. So again, that goes back to just writing something really short and to the point that's going to grab somebody's attention. Okay, you also want to upload a captivating thumbnail, something that's relevant, that's going to grab somebody's attention. And then again, we set it similar to the video tags. We want to use relevant hashtags. Again, just as you would with Twitter and Facebook, go ahead and throw some hashtags in there that people could see because people search via hashtagging. And then this goes without saying, you did all the work, created a really great video. It's engaging, it's informative, you optimized it. Feel free to promote your video on other social media platforms. Okay, don't just stick with YouTube per se. So the benefit here is if you post it on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever platform of your choice and it gets engagement, people click on the link, go to YouTube, they're going to like it, and then other people are going to see that engagement. They're going to see how many people liked it or how many subscribers you have. So promote your videos to help you with the ranking of the video on YouTube. So that does play into it. So go ahead and promote it so other people can watch it, like it, comment, etc. And that's going to engage other people to want to do the same. So what is mobile first indexing? This is a really important and timely question. Mobile first indexing means Google's just using mobile friendly content for indexing and ranking websites. So in other words, Google, for example, has two bots. They have the traditional desktop bot and they have a smartphone bot. And eventually everybody that has a website is going to be migrated over to the smartphone bot. And so if that smartphone bot goes to your website and starts crawling, what do you think they're looking for? Their smartphone bot, they're looking for mobile friendly content. If it's not mobile friendly, meaning the page isn't designed for a smartphone browser, or let's just say the images are way too large, or you have to expand the text just to read it. You know, a lot of these issues that somebody would have just simply trying to read something on a web page on their mobile device, Google's not going to grab that content. So you want to make sure it's mobile friendly so it gets indexed. And so if your website has a responsive design, Google will rank your website based on its performance on mobile devices. Okay, so you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And if you're in an interview and somebody asks you this question, you could even take it a step further and say, look, I'm going to measure how friendly my website is for mobile devices in Google Search Console. Because Google Search Console has a report that will show you what pages on your website are not mobile friendly. And it's not a guarantee, but I could tell you if I'm Google and I'm crawling your site with my smartphone bot and that page or one of my pages is not mobile friendly, I'm probably not going to index it or rank it. So you want to leverage that report in Google Search Console to see what pages are mobile friendly. So that's a little bonus for you to really impress the interviewer who asked you this question. Because how are you going to know if one of your pages is mobile friendly or not if you don't look at a report? So keep an eye on Google Search Console's mobile usability report. Okay, number 6. List down the most important local SEO ranking factors. Okay, so organic local ranking is just as important as anything else in organic search. Because if you have a local business, you want to use the likes of, say, Google My Business to show up when somebody types in, looking for a florist or looking for a coffee shop. So what you want to do is you want to create a web page for every product and service. Okay, you also want to opt for your business listings on Google My Business. And there are plenty of other local business directories out there like Yelp, for example, or Bing even has one. So go ahead and also make sure you have a business listing as well. But since Google in the United States has a huge market share, you want to start with Google first. You want to update your NAP citations on your website, maintain consistency of your NAP. Okay, so NAP is name, address, phone number. So you want to make sure that that's current and consistent. So if you have a number on your website, make sure it's the same number on Google My Business. Okay, you can embed a Google map on your website. You could certainly optimize the meta tags and content, not only on your web pages, but within your Google My Business directory. So you can add your business to other local directories, like I mentioned, Yelp. And then also, just as important, opt for reviews and ratings. Okay, so the more reviews you have, the better off you are. Okay, so I always say this with local search. 3 of the main factors in showing up for local search on, say, Google is obviously the keyword. The second is the proximity of where that person is. And then third is the reviews. So you can't really control the proximity, but you can control the keyword and you can control the reviews to some degree. So work hard at getting reviews for your business, but at the same time, you can certainly work in some keywords, let's just say for your product and service pages on your website, but also you can translate that over to Google My Business. Okay, so working in those keywords, making sure your number, your address, your name, they're all consistent, and really just spreading the business out on other directories. That's really, all these are really key factors for local SEO. Okay, so question number 7, how to avoid duplicate content, getting penalized for duplicate content. So for example, if you have 2 different versions of a web page, you may result in a duplicate content issue. So it's just SEO 101. You never want to have two or more pages with the same content. So what do? Well, we can avoid this in having Google penalize us by, again, setting up a 301 redirect. Remember, 301s are permanent. We can also use what they call a canonical tag. And a canonical tag basically alerts the search engines as to which page is the original. Okay, so if we have an original page, we want to point to that page with our canonical tag. And then the third option is opt for preferred domain in Google Search Console. Okay, so if you have multiple domains, make sure you set up a primary one in Search Console. So those are ways to work around it. Of this 3, I would always go with the canonical tags, because that's just a tag that's going to sit on the page. It's going to alert Google as to what the original is, just in case they get their hands on the duplicate. So all the pages that have the same content are going to have the same canonical tag pointing to one page. So again, 301s are permanent. You can simply just redirect one to the other if you end up having duplication, or you could just tell the search engines, hey, this is the original page, or you can go through Search Console. Okay, number 8, what are the tactics to increase a web page speed? Okay, so what are some of the tactics? Well, when you build a site, especially for mobile, you want to keep it as simple as possible. And what I mean by simple as possible, really, I mean, hey, use a simple website design. Don't get overly creative, if you will. Most websites, all websites have images. You're not going to be able to get around that, but just make sure you optimize your images. In other words, don't have such a large image size. If you don't need something very large, don't have it. Okay, you want to improve server response time. And what do we mean by that? Well, your site's sitting on a server somewhere. You can own that server, or you can be renting it out from, say, Amazon Web Services, or let's just say GoDaddy as your registrar. They also have web hosting. Well, if you have it on, say, GoDaddy's server, you may be sharing that server with other businesses. And at certain times of the day, other businesses may get a lot of traffic and suck up a lot of bandwidth. What is that going to do? That's going to reduce the server response time for your site. And so you want to make sure you have an idea of, what server your web page or website is on. And you want to be able to have some control over that. Because if your server response is slow, that's going to slow down everything else in terms of loading in the browser, and that's not going to be good for SEO. Okay, optimize your code. We mean by optimize, minifying. When we say minifying, we mean get rid of some of the redundant code. If you have CSS, get rid of the JavaScript you're not using. So that's what we mean by optimizing code. Reduce redirects. Okay, ideally, you just want to have one redirect in place. You don't want to create a daisy chain, so to speak, of redirecting and redirecting after that. That's never going to bode well, and it's going to slow things down as well. Enable browser caching. So if you enable browser caching, basically, if somebody comes back to the page they've been on, say, 2 days ago, they're probably going to see a cached version of that page. And then opt for the content delivery network as well. So these are some of the ways to reduce page speed. Now, if you're curious about the page speed of your website, you can always go to Google's Page Speed Insights tool. And all you have to do is just Google Page Speed Insights, or even just something generic like Google Page Speed. And you're going to get this tool, Page Speed Insights. And all you need to do is just plug in a URL. When you plug in the URL, Google is going to analyze the URL for both mobile and desktop. And so here we could see Google gives a score. So we could see the score for mobile, and we could see the score for desktop just by clicking on desktop. And so here I could see some of the issues that the site may be having in terms of page load time for their desktop. If I flip over to mobile, Here I could see some other issues. For example, they have a server static assets with efficient cache policy. Now, if you're not sure what the heck that means, you can always just click on it and you can see some specifics here, or you can just always Google it as well. Here you got to reduce the impact of third-party code. Okay, so that's another thing. Reduce JavaScript execution time. So again, going back to some of the comments we made about coding. Okay, sometimes too much code or code not functioning as well as it should will tend to slow down the site. Okay, so you can use PageSpeed Insights. You can always get a glimpse of how pages are loading simply by also going to, for example, Google Analytics. Under Behavior, okay, you can go to Site Speed, and if you click on Overview, okay, what Google does is they do a sampling of pages over time. And in this case, based on 89 page views, they have an average page load time. And so you can get a sense of how quick specific pages load your site overall simply by looking at the Site Speed Overview report in Google Analytics to get a sense of how quick your pages are loading. Now, there are certain factors that do affect load time. So obviously the way the page is built with the code, the images, etc., but also the browser. Each browser loads differently. Okay, so you want to take a look at it by browser, also by country. Every country has a different network. Okay, you can be in the United States and have worse network service than you do, say, in Ivory Coast in Africa. Okay, so it really depends on the network you're on. So, and also the page. Every page is built differently. So you want to get a sense of what pages are loading quicker and which pages are not. You can simply just go to page timings in Google Analytics and you get a sense of what pages do not load fast and which ones do. And maybe hone in on the pages that aren't loading fast and address those pages first. Okay, so you have two tools at your disposal, one Google Analytics and one PageSpeed Insights. Okay, so let's look at question number 9 here. So when should an individual target short tail and long tail keywords? Okay, so remember, short tail are usually 1 to 2 keywords, very broad in nature. Long tail keywords are maybe 3, 4 keywords in a query, or maybe an entire sentence. Those are considered long tail keywords. So usually short tail keywords have higher volume, but also higher competition. Longer tail keywords usually have lower volume, but also lower competition. But the great thing about long tail keywords, the conversion rate will tend to be a little bit higher than, say, a short tail because it's less vague and more specific. So you can use short tail keywords if you're trying to drive a lot of visitors because those keywords are going to be vague or broad in nature. Long tail keywords are used for targeted pages such as product pages and articles. So if you have a specific product with a long name, you can certainly optimize that page for that product name. Again, the product name may have low volume, but if somebody types in exactly that product name, you show up, the chance of them converting are going to be very high. So you don't have to always be that specific with the product name, but try and be as specific as you possibly can in order to get somebody to click on your link in the search engine results and get them over to your site to convert. Okay, so those are really the big differences. Short tail, very broad, very vague, a lot of volume, but also a lot of competition. But hey, if you're ranking for a short tail keyword, you're probably going to get a lot of traffic. The conversion rates may not be as high as something, say, long tail, where, hey, maybe you're just honed in on a few set number of products and you don't care a lot about the traffic. You just care about getting the relevant traffic to your site to convert. Okay, number 10, what are the important elements to focus while developing a website? So we're talking in terms of SEO. Okay, so if somebody asks me this question in an interview, what am I going to focus on while developing a website? Well, the answers are right here. Yes, we talked about mobile. Mobile is so important because a lot of websites are going to be indexed with Google Smartphone Bot. So mobile usability is very important. So we need to make sure our website is responsive for mobile. Just some basic practices when it comes to site architecture and navigation. We want to have a simple URL structure. Okay, no overly cumbersome. The navigation should simply be clean and neat. Okay, if you have 5 products, okay, maybe you have in your navigation, you have something called products with all 5 listed, or you have all 5 products in the main navigation. The key is you just want to make it clean and neat and easy for somebody to find. The rule of thumb is if it's good for the end user, it's probably going to be good for Google. But if it's complicated for the end user, it's probably going to be complicated for Google. You always want to create a sitemap. Now, what is that sitemap? A sitemap is simply just a formatted file that includes all your URLs and assets, your images and your videos. They're going to be sitting on your server as well. So you want Google or these bots to be able to find your pages and assets. And by the way, you want to take it a step further and make sure you upload that sitemap, which is sitting in the root directory, meaning domain.com/sitemap.xml. Okay, you want to take that sitemap and make sure you input that sitemap location in Google Search Console. That way, Google Search Console has a one-way ticket to grab the elements in the sitemap. Another important element to focus on while developing a website is having a robots text file. And all a robots text file is, it's like a lock, I always say, to a house. So if you lock a door in your house, nobody's going to be able to get in that door. So that's all a robots text file is. You're telling Google and these other bots that are coming to crawl your site what's locked and what's not locked, meaning what they have access to and what they don't have access to. So you want to be able to make sure you have a robots text file if you're trying to not index specific pages of your website. Because if you tell Google, don't crawl these pages or this directory, they're not going to get crawled. And if they don't get crawled, they're not going to get indexed. So robots text file is an important element to focus on while you're developing your website. And while you're developing your website, it could be on in a directory just called new website. So you probably want to have new website as the directory in the robots text file, and just to let Google know, don't go into this directory because it's my new website. I'm not ready to go live yet. So you don't want it indexed. So there are a lot of reasons to have robots text files. That's the main reason. Sitemap, you want Google to get these pages and assets quickly. Okay, you want to make sure that your site architecture navigation is in order. You want to make sure your site is mobile friendly. And you also want to make sure you have content on your website. That's the key, because that's what's going to keep people on the website and engaged. And when I say content, I don't necessarily just mean words. I also mean videos. I also mean images, something interactive. Okay, you want to keep people engaged. That's the key behind it. Trust me, if an end user finds your site engaging, Google is likely going to find your site engaging. Okay, so those are good brownie points to bring up if somebody asks you this question in an interview. So just a recap here, it's important to have a better site structure so that bots can easily access and index the content. Okay, with a responsive design, helps to make your website mobile friendly and user friendly. Would also increase the amount of time a user spends on your website, which may improve your site's ranking. Sitemap is simply just a file that helps search engine bots to understand the structure of the website. Okay, how many pages are on your website and where are they located, along with the videos and images. Okay, and then the robots text just instructs the search engine crawlers to understand what pages should not be indexed. Okay, this is simply just a text file, and it's added to the root directory. Again, think like a door, think of a lock. Okay, you can lock whatever doors you want in your house. Think of it that way. If you have any questions, feel free to visit us at Simplilearn.com. I want to thank you for hanging in there, and good luck, and we'll see you on the next video.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.